Bears fans, I got some good news for you guys. The Chicago Bears are currently on track to get the number 2 overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. Let's talk about it. What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports, all back at it with another video talking, of course, NFL. Here to talk about the Chicago Bears season-long Bears coverage right here. Stay locked, stay tuned in, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I drop a new video. All right, so people, let's talk about this, all right? After the Bears' latest loss to the New York Jets, they have catapulted themselves all the way to the number 2 overall pick currently. And I'm going to show you a chart here which will show the current order if the season ended today. Obviously, the season doesn't, but we kind of get to see how things are lining up for the Chicago Bears, how the stars are aligning for the Bears to get the number 2 overall pick. Now, before I get into that, let me talk about the importance here of getting the number 2 overall pick. See, the Chicago Bears, if they get the number 2 overall pick, they will have basically gotten a gold mine. Let me explain. The Texans are getting the number 1 pick. We know that for a fact. They're 1-8-1. This team is the worst team in the NFL by far, offensively and defensively. They're not winning a single game. They're getting the number 1 pick. So essentially, yes, the number 1 pick would be the best one. But at this point, realistically, the number 2 pick is the best one you can get. And so with the number 2 pick, when you've got that and you've got your potential franchise quarterback, and the Bears look like they have that in Justin Fields, you have the opportunity to trade back and get a king's ransom. I'm talking multiple first-round picks, second-round picks, and so on and so forth. And so when we've got a draft like we got one in this year or this upcoming year, 2023, when you've got quarterbacks like a Bryce Young, like a C.J. Stroud, if you have the number 2 overall pick, you're going to have QB-needy teams trying to trade up for your pick and give you a king's ransom. Now, you can certainly stay at that number 2 pick, take a guy like a Will Anderson or a Jalen Carter, certainly, and address a need. But I am saying to you, the smart money is on trading back and getting a haul so you can expedite the rebuild even more and do it quicker. That is what the number 2 overall pick allows you to do. So it is very important that the Bears get that number 2 overall pick. Now let's talk about how they can get it. All right, so taking a look at the Chicago Bears' remaining schedule, we see that they play the Packers, the Eagles, the Bills, the Lions, and the Vikings. Folks, that's a gauntlet right there. And I feel very good about the Bears' chances of losing out. Now keep this in mind, people. When we're talking about the Bears losing, I'm not actively rooting for them to lose because I like to see the Bears lose. I'm actively looking towards the future as a smart Bears fan, knowing this season is a wash and what we can get by losing out is more valuable than what we can get by winning meaningless games. All right, understand that and you will see what I mean. So taking a look at these games, I'm here to tell you right here, right now, you can chalk up the Bills and the Eagles game as losses. For sure. We're talking about 2 of the best teams in football, right? And the Eagles are vying for that number 1 seed. So they are definitely going to be playing with real motivation. And the Bills are trying to lock up the division. So we're not even talking about teams resting their guys yet. So those 2 are losses for sure. Packers next week, all right, when we play the Green Bay Packers, they're still not mathematically eliminated from making the playoffs. So they're going to be a full go, and that is a game that you will potentially lose. We might not have Justin Fields in that game. Justin Fields could be sat out through the bye, which would be the smart thing to do. So that would be a loss for the Bears. So now you got 2 games left. You got the Lions and the Vikings. Clearly, the Lions are the worst team out of the remaining schedule teams that you have. But are they better than the Bears? Have they played better? Have they looked better? Yes. And I believe at this point, the Lions would mathematically be out of the playoffs. Like, they wouldn't be able to make the playoffs. But I think Dan Campbell and his team, they're going to play for pride. And I think they're going to still, go ahead and have their starters out there. So I still think the Lions will win this game. And we're playing them in Detroit. This is a road game. So that's another indication in favor of Detroit. And then finally, Minnesota. What worries me here is the Vikings sitting their starters, right? Because it's the last game of the season. Because clearly at full health, they would beat us. But keep this in mind. The Eagles and the Vikings are vying for that number 1 seed in the NFC. And so it could come down to this, where even in week 18, the Vikings would not need to go out and play their starters because the Eagles and them are still taking a shot for that number one spot in the NFC, which is very valuable, and you definitely want that number one seed. And so I do think the Vikings play their starters, and that is another L for us. So essentially, we have a very good chance of finishing the season at 3-14, right? That would be the record for the Bears. Now, remember the chart I told you guys about earlier? Let's pull that up and take a look at it again. See, here's the thing. Right now, the Bears are on track for the number 2 spot. But here's what's important. If the Bears lose out and finish 3-14, they are also going to need the other teams to not just lose out. They're going to need the other teams to win a game or so. If the Bears and let's say the Rams, the Broncos, the Steelers, and these other teams all finish with the same 3-14 record, the Bears will not get the number 2 overall pick. Let me repeat that. If the Bears and a couple of these other teams like the Rams, the Broncos, Steelers, etc., all finish with the same record, 3-14, the Bears will not get the number 2 overall pick due to strength of schedule. So not only do they need to lose out, but they need these other teams to get some wins. So taking a look at this, I will tell you this much. I think the Panthers, again, they just got a dub the other day against the Broncos. They look like they will still be fighting and trying hard and not actively losing. I don't think the Raiders will actively try to lose. I don't think the Broncos will actively try to lose. They need some wins just for morality support at this point with Russ Wilson and how bad that team has been. I don't think the Rams will actively try to lose. I don't think the Browns will actively try to lose. I don't think the Steelers will actively try to lose. And I don't think the Jaguars will actively try to lose. So all of these teams, I think, will try to win. And I think they will probably all rattle off at least one more win. I haven't looked at the schedules in depth, but I could probably tell you that maybe one more victory is in the realm of possibility. So that is what the Bears need. And I believe the Bears have a very, very, very good shot of getting the number 2 overall pick. Because I'm telling you, I think Justin Fields gets maybe sat out until the bye. And then after that, even with Justin Fields, it's going to be very difficult to beat the Eagles, the Bills, the Vikings, and then obviously you got the Lions there. So I think Bears fans, we have a very good chance at that number 2 overall pick, and that should be a very, very good thing. So let me know what you guys think about the Bears' chances of getting the number 2 overall pick. Leave a comment down below as always. Thanks.